Here's the thing, you know, the idea is to actually to soften to the world. You know, we look at things, we like them, we get attached to them. We see things we don't like, we either dissociate or avert from them. You know, this is I call it the war. You know, that this war is constantly going on. And my description, first of all, is that that's one sense door. We have all these other sense doors, right? And what is it? The experience is, you know, happiness. You know, because you're free from the shackles of the liking and disliking of things, you know. So then it's, in some ways you could say it's more self-referential, but that's only because you don't leave the seat, the one seat. You know, you just kind of stay there, you know. Yeah, somewhat, you know. Do you follow? You know.
Just sort of.
No. They see that's it's not so black and white in that way. It's softening, it's loosening. Everything's still there, and we're affected by it, but we're not holding it, you know. So it kind of moves through. It doesn't mean you don't feel it, you know, and it doesn't mean that you know, there may be a, you know, excuse me, you may get out of your chair, or you stand up on your chair, you know. Take note, you know, but you're actually not. You know, in a sense, kind of, you don't leave, you stay, you know. And I want to give this description because I use this description. It's been good for me, so hopefully it's helpful to you. Many of you probably have heard it. And it really has to do with this pendulum that, you know, and the pendulum is really, there's the center point, and then there is pleasant. And pleasant goes from 1 to 10. And then we have unpleasant that goes from 1 to 10. And then there's a center point. Now, what's happening most of the time is that we're in this war of trying to keep as much we're trying to get up to 10 on the pleasantness, okay? And we're struggling to try to do that, okay? This is why Ajahn Chah says it's a war. And then the other side is we are resisting. You know, if it gets to 1, you know, we're in ferocious battle to either dissociate from it or to you know, run over it or to take something, you know, whatever, to stay away from that. And this is going on all the time. Now, the Buddha was, and the ideals here is simple. He just said the attachments, and they're attachment either way. But what's true is there's a center point. And that center point, we can call it the 0 point. And that it has no charge on it. Like 1 to 10, either way, has huge charges on it, you know. And we believe those to be happiness and unhappiness, correct? You know, as a kind of conventional thinking. This center point has no charge. And the ideals of this practice is that we begin to notice that all the time there's this center point that has no charge, and therefore there's no interest, you know. But if you have had the uncomfortability, that's maybe is that word, of that 1 to 10, of the dis-ease or the suffering or the contraction in your life somewhere, then you're actually interested in that 0 point. You know, if everything's been 1 to 10, yeah, to hell, you know. But there is this kind of 0 point. And we're passing it over all the time. And these practices are fundamentally to begin to notice that the place where there is no charge, that the Buddha, he called it Nibbana, and Ajahn Buddhadasa talked about the cool, and that it is just the experience of the cool, which is also the experience of peace. And so in that 0 point, or, the Buddha also called it of putting out the fire, that one then touches into this, it's momentary, sometimes nibbana, but the point it is the cool. And it has, its sensing is peace. And it's really what we're working with here, is trying to, we're trying, first of all, part of the thing here is to come in and slow the sucker down, Okay, hey, stop. This thing keeps swinging, and you still are like in a fight with the war of the last story from the last story and the story before that, and then a memory comes up of 20 years ago. There was a story that, But as you do that, then the idea is here. My job is to point to the 0 point, and for you to actually begin to believe that's where your freedom lies, because a lot of times we believe that somehow freedom has to do from the pleasant, from 1 to 10, and that's where we're going to be happy, So, and this is almost a radical, it is, in that way Buddhism is a radical pointing out that's that 0 point, so fundamental, and it's with us all the time, by the way, but it's never been pointed out to us. And therefore, you don't need it. In some ways, if you could just sit here and just beat yourself to death on the damn pillow. I'm sorry about that, but you just kind of go through it all, and this thing swings back and forth, and pretty soon, one of the things that happens is, I'll say this for myself, I have the same damn stories, almost 50 years later, they're still running me, and I'd like, come on, And the thing is, I'm a lot more tolerant, but we know there's the same thing. And so part of this is we begin to wear out the charge on the story. And a lot of the sitting is wearing out the charge on the story. It's not getting rid of the story. People think, oh, we'll get rid of the story. No, we get rid of the charge on the story. And then we actually, instead of it swinging so hard and fast and just staying in this war, that we start incidentally beginning to notice the 0 point for maybe just a moment. But it's a relief from the sensitivity that we come here and create, through these sitting practices, So I hope that's helpful.